Welcome back to the Brand Doctor Show.
Hello. How long is this going to last like this? I like it. I like it.
I try to change it up each time.
Yeah, well,
You want to
good.
start things off while I get my energy going?
All right, so we're going to be talking about life, updates, all those things. I also just got Sponsor Magnet by Justin Moore. So
Okay.
I was on a plane. I had like the PDF version. So I threw that into Notebook LM, listened to it, wrote down some notes, looked at the Notion document. So I'm tracking sponsors. And what I learned from this book, and we'll see, we're still in the process. Right now, I had about 25 sponsors reach out in the last couple of months, but because I wasn't organized, I wasn't really thinking about them, or I'm like, oh, they're not serious, and et cetera, et cetera. So I learned a really good first tactic with working with brands. It has worked so far, just in the handful of conversations. We'll see how it goes and if we can get long-term deals, but approaching a sponsor, and before giving them your media kit, you ask them how much is their marketing budget. And that allows you to see if it's even something that you want to go into. And if and you have more of the power versus you're just saying, here are my rates. They can say yes or no. It's like, wait. I know my worth. I know what's going on with you. Let me know what's going on here.
Yeah.
So it's a really interesting book, and I can talk about more of goals and what's happening with the channel. But yeah, it's an interesting book and going forward.
I think we'll get to channel updates towards the end. I have a lot to tell you, and I'm sure there's a lot we could talk about with sponsorships. For one, I wanted to bring this up. I would definitely do this in Obsidian now, not Notion, but I know a lot of people still use Notion. As soon as I started doing interviews, I made a CRM in Notion so I could keep track of all my guests. That was a night and day revelation that I think that I started off with. There's probably plenty of people, most people probably never do that. And that is a huge, huge mistake. And you could take that same CRM and change it for sponsors. I know that Thomas Frank, a lot of his templates, especially when it came to content creation, he had sponsorships in mind when he built out his template. And so it'd be like the video is being recorded by this person, it's being edited by this person, the sponsor for that video is this, and it was linked to another database that was a CRM of sponsors. And that's the kind of thing that you need to be thinking about as a content creator. And one thing that I wanted to mention, I was actually probably going to make a video about this, but as a content creator, you should be backing up your content. Not just take your videos and put it on a backup drive. That's one thing. But as a blogger, I moved all of my blog posts onto Notion as I moved from WordPress to Ghost. And it was a very painstaking process, but that helped me out in the future whenever I needed to move again or something like that. And I just think that's a huge deal that people don't think about.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. Always. And there's no reason now, because basically storage is so cheap, to figure out a way to do it. It does take a lot of time, but agreed.
I managed to get a good deal on a backup drive too for a 5 terabyte drive. I basically paid $80 for it.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I haven't told you really anything that's happened, but so let's start off with some of the basic stuff. On Sunday, though, I did tell you this a little bit before the call. I woke up and I just had bad juju. Everything I touched that day just broke. And so I was trying to, I think I told you before on the show that I got a couple products from the computer company that built my main computer. And I've been wanting to do some reviews on those and dig around with it. But in order to, review it, I have to use it. And I'm not used to external graphics cards. And so figuring that out has been a process. And I think I figured out what my mistake was in retrospect. But I tried figuring it out, and no matter what I did, I couldn't get it to work. And I'm like, okay, this is weird. And then I tried messing around with recording a review for my Retroid Pocket gaming handheld. I was like, I need to get around to doing this. I've been wanting to do it for months. I'll probably put it on my gaming channel, which will be the first video on that channel for ages. I need to get this done. As soon as I try to turn on OBS or Meld Studio, my camera stopped working. And this was right when I plugged in a capture card. So I wonder if maybe there was a bandwidth issue, but even when I unplugged it, it still wouldn't work. And then I had the issue of in Meld Studio, the capture card would work, but not the camera. Then in OBS, the camera would work, but not the capture card. And then it flip-flopped and it was working opposite. So I was going back and forth. I finally finished the video, but it's going to take a lot of editing now to fix all the little glamour issues and stuff like that. And then just other issues throughout the day, kind of like that, where tech just kept breaking on me and I was having kind of some bad luck. And then all leads up to yesterday. I didn't do much in the morning, but then I had to take my dog to the vet in the afternoon. And as I pull out of the vet parking lot, my car dies on one of the busiest roads in my town. And so that was kind of scary. Luckily, I was basically in the middle lane already, and I was able to kind of swerve into the middle lane. But my car, this is like a 5-lane road, and the middle lane at least is a turning lane, but my car just like completely stopped working. Like the gas wouldn't do anything, and I checked the oil was freshly replaced. I checked the oil too just in case. The oil was fine, and I have no idea what's going on with it, and it's going to be in the shop today. And it's like, that is a great way to start the week, Doc.
You're going through it, man. You're going through it. Glad that you made it today. That's the main thing. So what are you going to do with this now, all of this free time and not being able to leave the house? What are you going to do?
It's not much different. I didn't really leave the house in the first place.
That's good.
Except for when I need. Well, I need to use it for work though, but I guess I can just walk to work.
Yeah,
like 45 minutes, I think.
45. That's great. You're always talking about trying to get more workouts. This is good. This is actually a good thing.
Doc. All right, what's new with you?
Let's see. Look, I'm looking at the positives right here. What am I doing? What is new? So,
I've been so jaded lately. I probably need you to be more positive.
See, that's the thing. So what is new? I have been working on the 12-week year, and two major things. One was just basically paying off things. So paid off my car, which was awesome. So now can focus on like 2 more bills, and that's like the main thing. But so the 12-week year has been really helpful on just like where spending, where can you cut things out. This kind of led me to, I'm not sure if I'm going to keep my editor right now because it's about $950 a month. So it's like, can we really do it? Which leads into another thing, what were you going to say before I go into that?
Sorry, I just got excited because, it may not be the highest quality, but I hired some Reddit editors, and, they would really do like a few videos before I had to like find a new one, because either they would want to charge more or they stopped wanting to edit or whatever. But if you don't mind the frequency of turnover, I mean, dude, I was charging $20 per video.
Wow. I got to see then. What, you
they're
just
pretty
want to
decent.
edit? You were just pretty much in there?
It was like hire an editor / hire an editor, something like that. Probably a couple different ones.
That's interesting. I'm going to look into it.
At the very least, you might be able to find one for like, and since you can afford $900 a month, you might be able to afford somebody doing like $400, $100 a week, something like that. And most of them were, pretty good. I think some of them were kind of iffy, but yeah, you just have to go dig around, make a post.
Well, okay. So what kind of, this is totally off topic, but I think I better understand which subreddits I should look into first, those kind of things.
The only one that comes to mind is r/hire an editor. And then there's one other one, but I think that's more for like just talking about editing, but some people do hire on there.
I might look into that. I'm pulling it up right now. So that's number one. And then also too, Roberto Blake came on the show a while ago at VidCon. But I finally put it out. There was a whole issue. Basically, I thought I lost my audio for about 9 or 10 months. And this is one of the benefits of, we're going all over the place, but here we go. If you're looking at Rodecaster, and I was using the
wireless one,
the wireless ones, but it has the onboard recording.
Yeah.
And the other version, the new ones, I was like, I think I just want to do that. It's easier. It'll be easier, all this stuff. And the reality is that saved my behind because I looked at it, didn't sync right. Now, again, it took some time to resync it and everything, but I'm like, it saved the interview. The interview.
I just saw this like little MP3 recorder on Google yesterday or the day before yesterday, because I was looking around for some like omnidirectional mics or whatever, and I just kept thinking, like, if I ever do like an in-person interview again, I want to have a backup like that. Like it seems redundant, but Tim Ferriss talked about that, I think, whenever he was talking about doing interviews and stuff like that. And as much as I crap on Riverside because it craps out on me a lot, there has been a few times where the cloud recording saved my ass. And like, that's one of those things where other tools don't always have that cloud recording. And
no, it's really important. And then, this time I was like, I've always talked about like, oh, well, that doesn't really matter, all this stuff. But no, that would have been terrible. And I know, how often do I see Roberto in person? Very rarely. And it was a great interview. Said it was one of his favorites that he's ever done. So that was really cool. And then I was on his live stream, just getting a channel review.
Right.
And he mentioned a couple things which I always was comparing my channel to one other one, similar to like there's a guy named Greg who does a lot with AI,
Mm.
AI agents and things like that.
It's
He
not
was
Greg
like,
Priest, is it? No.
I gotta check. But the thing, what I liked about he was saying was, he's like, your content and what you're doing. Although he didn't, I don't think I should have just asked him. I was
Mm.
like, he's like, you should be doing live builds, and I was like, he didn't go to live. I don't think he didn't see how many live streams, but he's like, you should look at Envato's channel and do master classes and do a
Mm.
straight like 2 hour, just like straight up. And I was thinking about there's a I think it's Baddie in Business. It's this girl that popped off during the pandemic. And I was thinking about her channel and all of her classes. And it really was just these in-depth hour, 2 hour long master classes that
Mm.
you just use slides and all of those things. And I was like, you know what? I can do that.
You'll
Yeah.
be really good at it. And something that comes to mind, this is an idea that I've toyed with myself. And as much as I don't like one of the tools anymore, I had this idea that I wanted to make a course, one course on Skillshare, one course on Udemy, one course on like maybe like LinkedIn Learning, maybe BitDegree, which are some of the bigger ones that I could think of. And especially the first two though, like Udemy and Skillshare. Like Skillshare has gone downhill quite a bit over the years, and there's been a lot of issues with them. But it is a platform that's good for discovery, I feel like. At the very least, there's a certain network on there that's pretty loyal to it. And if you can crank out a masterclass once a week or something like that, you can just take advantage of those platforms is what I was thinking.
Yeah. And that's what I was thinking. I was like, I can probably do a lot on YouTube and then
She seems cool.
on Skillshare, yeah. And then also doing it on Udemy, releasing things like that. Almost just as a play for just awareness and how big and everything. But yeah, no, I was thinking about that, and then I was looking at I've never looked at the Envato channel before. I didn't even know they had a YouTube channel.
Oh yeah.
And so
I think I might have looked at it because of like tutorials or something like that, because I had some of their products.
Yeah. And you can see that they have the beta product because they can sell courses on YouTube here. It looks like here. But nevertheless, I was like, you know what? That's an interesting thing because I'm always comparing people in the AI agent world and everything like that. So it's good perspective. But when he said that, and I was thinking about Envato, and then I was thinking about her as well, I was like, I think I can pretty much dominate doing that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to really think about it, write out a couple of things. And he just mentioned like packaging and things like that, which I agree. I have to get better.
Quick question update for your shorts. Have you been doing them?
I have been doing them in batches, and I'll tell you why.
Yeah, I think batches are nice, to be honest.
And so this is what and I'm going to do a video on this one. I was testing out Opus. Basically, I need to get in touch with Connor because I don't want to pay for Opus right now.
I was going to say, I'll throw your Roberto Blake one in if you want.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, that'd be awesome. And that's the thing, like, I was testing out Opus. Like, do I want to pay that? But then I was testing out Taj, and I was testing out Menvo and all these things. So what I learned was, and I talked to the co-founder of Taj, a lot of these tools are doing a really bad job at articulating what makes them different and the key features of them. So Taj, I was telling them, I'm like, I was having trouble, and I'm still having trouble with basically generating the clips. But they're like, actually, we're trying to be more like Repurposed.io. And I didn't tell them. I was like, Repurposed.io is like Zapier or Make, like the intricacy of what you could do with it. But it's not intuitive, and it's not instant gratification like Opus Clip, where you throw it in, it's really good quality clips and go with it. Repurpose is structured. You have a team. You want it to work in a certain way with automation to produce content. And he's like, we want to be closer to that. And I was like, interesting.
You'll have to send me a link to Tosh because I don't know if I've seen that one yet. I definitely think like Video Tap is probably the only one in my head that's actually different. Everything else is just trying to be like a clone of Opus, and they, like you said, they do a bad job at explaining what they do. And I think Simplified is trying to be a little more automation focused too. But again, the name is kind of weird, and the product ecosystem they have is kind of confusing. And repurpose.io, even as a techie, was confusing for me. And again, I had a lot of issues with it like breaking on me. But again, that was kind of early on. Also, just wanted to mention this out there for people who are watching this who like tools. Repurpose seems to have done an not Repurpose. Riverside seems to have done an update. So I'm looking down at the bottom here, and the recording button looks different from one, but right next to it is a pause button, Doc.
Oh wow.
And for all the years I've used Riverside, there's never been a pause button. And that's kind of nice. I've always had to just like cross my arms like this. And so I know in editing to like take it out.
That's great. That's great. That's very interesting. Yeah. So, I mean, that's pretty much where I've been at. And I guess I'm doing stuff with AppSumo now. I'm doing a bi-weekly show with them, a webinar for their community. And what I'm doing that is a play to leverage to do other speaking events and basically testing content and things like that. The reality is they would never pay me what I'm worth, where it'd be contracting and things like that. I want the reach and the awareness, and I'm using my StreamYard and collecting emails from them. So I don't really, I mean, I just see it's a win for me.
Yeah.
And, you know, later on, if we see what's going on, sure. But I'm testing tools constantly. And with this masterclass idea, I'm like, I think I can churn this out even faster. So that's what I got planned.
So before going into some other stuff, I wanted to talk a tiny bit more about sponsors, but more importantly, there's two creators who I saw in the last couple of days rant. One of them crashed out in a way. And I'll mention that one first because that's the most interesting. Hank Green was on TikTok and he just went on a rant and he was like crashing out. And it was one of those things where it seemed completely okay. Like, it was like, if Hank Green is stressed out enough from what's going on in the world and stuff like that, it kind of shows that like, okay, it's okay for all of us to be stressed out too. And he was just talking about how things were happening and that he doesn't know everything, and people keep coming to him with their problems or like asking questions. And it's like, Hank Green's one of the people who, if you had like some kind of science question, he was kind of like the Bill Nye for this generation. And he's like, I don't know things. And he learns faster than a lot of people. And so like when people ask him questions, he'll learn about it and explain it. But he had like a 2-3 minute video on TikTok that was kind of like talking about just, you know, that Bill Nye video where he's like, the world is on fire. That's what that was basically for Hank Green. And it was just very interesting. And much respect to the guy. I love the creator. And I'm glad that he's doing okay. But it's just one of those things where he was kind of stressed out. And then I saw a tweet where it wasn't really much of a crash out, but it was a rant by Pat Flynn. And he was talking about sponsorships and smaller creators and how creators are getting screwed over by a lot of sponsorships and how they don't know what to ask for, and they don't know that they should be asking for more, and you know, to be able to like have a little bit of respect for yourself kind of thing. Like, you deserve more than what you're getting a lot of the time. And I kind of have a counterpoint to that. I think a lot of creators, even big creators, get a little too much of an ego, and they don't do what you're doing with AppSumo, for example, where they're like, I think that I deserve this X amount of money. I'm not going to do any deal unless you pay me. And it's like, I work with Opus. They don't pay me, but they give me free hours. And it's one of those things where it's a good deal because I'm happy to spread the awareness of Opus because it's a great tool and it's helped me out a lot. I've gotten now over 250,000 views on my main channel. I got a notification for that the other day. I don't know if I told you or not. I think I showed you a picture maybe or something like that. But essentially, probably 150,000 of those views were from shorts, more than likely. And it's just one of those things where that I can attribute that to Opus. And so I'm happy to make that exchange, like you were saying with the AppSumo stuff. It's awareness for me, it's partnership for me, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. And you know, the thing is, and I'll do the counter. Well, I'll go along with that. I like Justin Moore's book, and okay, let me back up. There's two things. There's one analogy that Roberto Blake, when I took his branding class years ago, said that really stuck with me. It was like, when you're working with a sponsor, it is like they're coming into your kitchen and they're messing things up and they're cooking whatever they want and whatever. You're letting them in your home. How much is that worth for them to be in your kitchen to mess up? What is that worth to you and your brand? And then add about 10% on top of that. And that really stuck with me because, to me, and this is what I'm going to be releasing a lot more, and I don't think I've talked about this publicly, but some of my templates, I looked at my template sales that I've made about Flutterflow a couple of years ago. I literally have not touched the template. And I think we just crossed 10,000 in sales for the templates, right? And yes, sponsorships are great, but I already have a job that I really like and I can be pretty lean on the team. Why not lean into more courses or templates at the price point that works with my audience? And I'm really giving it a lot of thought because I'm not trying to release an AI agents course or things like that, but I think a $27 course with a lot of resources and templates for people to understand. I cannot tell you how many times people are asking about Web3 things and I'm trying to save them. But I think a low barrier and not like me trying to justify a 197, a 495. I think I could make a couple sales, but my audience is very much like AppSumo, where I came from, right? And I was
Mhm.
always looking for deals. Was always strapped for money when starting out. I think the realm of 7 to 17. 7 seems to be the number for my audience. Like 7 is a no-brainer. And
$7.
yeah, and I think either resources and limited things. So I'm playing with like 7, 27, and $47 things. And yeah, I'll stop
You
there.
convinced me. Well, you told me before when I was talking about my templates, you convinced me to do $7 instead of free, and I think that I kind of anchored to that. That's kind of one of my next goals. Well, we keep going into the whole catch up part of it, like telling you what's happening with the content blitz and whatnot. I'll tell you more about that because one of the next things I need to do is stuff related to the PIOS, and I used Pinsite before as my place of hosting for when it comes to like courses and digital products and basically anything because I used to use it for my scheduling too. But I had a terrible experience where because someone on Pinsite was spamming people, not like the company, but someone using Pinsite, the whole domain got like marked as spam, and anybody under that somehow also got marked as spam. So my email kept getting marked as spam because of Pinsite, and so I have dropped them off my usability tool list, if you will.
Hmm.
But I still have my templates and stuff like that on there. And so I was actually going to go in this week at some point. I mean, I was going to do it yesterday until the whole situation happened. But I'm going to go in there, just like remove everything and just put a link to my Ko-Fi, which is where I think I'm going to post my digital products going forwards because I've looked at Gumroad, I've looked at Podia. None of them seem to be that great. And Ghost can't really do digital products. I can do memberships and I can do like hidden posts. And I plan on doing a lot of stuff with those memberships. But I might even offer like anybody who's downloaded my like how to Survive a Zombie Apocalypse PDF, my modular degree template, or the PIOS templates. Anybody who's actually downloaded anything from my pen site, I might offer them a deal where, hey, if you sign up to my membership on my website, I'll give you a free comped membership.
What are you selling? What Pinsite allows you to do checkout or what's up?
Well, it does everything basically. You could do coaching, you could do digital products, you can do it's like a link tree. But the problem is it was too expensive and I got flagged as spam and
Hmm.
it's not on there. So like I don't recommend anybody using it at this point.
Why did you get flagged? I don't understand. Like, what
It
are you
wasn't
doing?
me. It was someone else using pen sites that kind of ruined it for the rest of us. They were like actively 10,000 spamming kind of thing.
Oh, I see what's going on. That
And
sucks.
so, yeah,
Okay.
their
I'm
email
just
servers got like flagged or something like that.
I'm just looking at.
It was a pretty cool tool, but it was just one of those things where it costs $30 a month at least or something like that for the pro membership, and all the features are hidden behind that. And I wasn't making enough money to be like even justifying that at all. I feel like,
Yeah, I'm looking at just what's on AppSumo right now.
but
Things, but yeah,
I
keep
also
going.
really like Ko-Fi, and I kind of want to build that out more anyways. And so if I could just post some digital products on there, that's all that really matters. I'm not trying to host a course just yet, and I think some of the courses I want to make are going to be more text heavy anyways. And I could always make some unlisted YouTube videos and then put them on the like a paid blog post and just have it hidden behind the membership.
Yeah, love it, love it, love it, love it. Nope, love it.
So that's kind of what's going forward. Going back, I guess with the content blitz, I kind of consider it finished, Doc.
Cool.
At this point, I didn't finish all the sprints technically, but I can go through with you real quick the sprints that I did do.
Let's talk about it.
The first thing ended up being a social media campaign, I guess you could say, mega campaign. And I told you about this where I had 370 written posts that I wanted to make. Actually, I also made like 60 to 70 written posts for my other two channels too, mind you. So I did more than just 370, but I had 370 for my main channel. And I posted that to the YouTube community tab, post tab, whatever you want to call it. It's changing names a lot recently. I posted it to Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn, and then added Mastodon and Threads and blue sky when Nuelink supported those platforms. And then, so now it's going out until the end of this year, basically, one post a day across all these different platforms. And of course, I'll do more native posting too, but I wanted to have something going out consistently. I post tweets all the time, and I'll post more on LinkedIn myself personally as well. But then I also did, the next campaign was Spotify. I wanted to make one clip for every interview and then upload the full length video too for every interview, which I actually need to go in and, upload the most recent ones. Actually, I forgot about doing that. And then the next campaign, I guess, basically started the main three. I had the Polycast season, which I finally finished thanks to you and another guest coming back on and doing some solo episodes. I finished that season by the end of the month or so. And then the Polymath newsletter, which I consider kind of a semi-success. I have one a week scheduled out till the end of March, but I wanted to get to the end of the year, so it's kind of like not really a success, but I did do a lot. And then the blog post sprint, which I did about 30 to 40 blog posts over the last 2 months, which is not enough. I needed about 120, but I have one blog post a day scheduled until like February 10th. And so maybe going forward, I'll just do one a week and try to get one out the rest of the year, something like that.
I like that.
So it's semi-success, but it's more about doing a whole bunch at a short time span, and I tried my best.
How do you feel afterwards?
I don't feel as accomplished as I wanted, but I did do a lot of work, and there has been a lot of external circumstances like the car situation and job situation that have been kind of like distracting. Like as soon as I got my temp job in the holiday season, it kind of took away a lot of my focus, I feel like, at the end of December and whatnot.
That makes sense. And then what will you learn from this? What's next? Now that you've been doing this Blitz, how do you feel? What are you going to do with this?
I think that a lot of people could benefit from doing some sort of deep endeavor like that. I don't want to say doing their own Blitz, because the Blitz was kind of like something that only high level creators, I think, should do, and people who've done it for a long time. So we talked about this before, where when you do any kind of content, video, written, or audio, you want to do 100 reps before you actually even get somewhat good at doing that particular type of content. I don't think you should do a Blitz until you've done like 200 reps for written audio and video. Like, I think a modern content creator does all three in some capacity, whether that's a newsletter for written content or whatever, but a modern content creator does all three. And I think only a person of like high level who's done it for a long time should attempt a Blitz, because it was very conducive to my growth, but it's also very likely to burn out. And so doing sprints is a whole different thing. And I think some people should do like a 30-day sprint, maybe even a 100-day sprint, which is pretty excessive, but I would rather you do that first before doing a Blitz, because I basically did multiple sprints like that, essentially.
That makes sense. Yeah, I think I can see the purpose of that burnout and people just being overwhelmed and not finishing. I can definitely see that being.
I mean, I basically hit that. And like, I think I still succeeded. I think I got maybe, I would grade myself like a C plus or B minus maybe, or something like that. I didn't do great, but I did pretty good. And also I wanted to let you know, I tossed all 12 of our previous Brand Doctor episodes into Opus. And while there was a few of them that just didn't really quite work because we shared screen a lot and it was just too low resolution in Riverside to really see it, because I think some of them were recorded before Riverside updated their screen share quality. So some of the videos didn't really give me that many clips. I got about 100 clips from our 12 episodes, and then I'm going to post one a day on the PolyTools channel.
Wow. Okay. All right. I got to take a look at this. This is awesome.
Yeah. And I can send those over to you if you want to, for your channel if you like. But I also plan on making, you're talking about batching shorts. I have like 100 ideas for short form videos for the PolyTools channel in particular, about like content creation and marketing and just tools and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And I made this a while back. And I realized that if I could just batch record 100 of them, then I'll have 200 days worth of short form content. I could post one a day, essentially. I think that would be good for consistency purposes.
Interesting.
One more thing before I stop rambling. On the PolyTools channel, I have one video scheduled every week until the end of March. I had the PolyInnovator channel scheduled out until basically this week. And so I had basically I had that at the beginning of December. So I had a lot scheduled, but I need to probably catch up on that channel a little bit. And then I have a short scheduled every day on the PolyInnovator channel until the end of March. So both channels have their own content kind of batch recorded.
That's wild. That's really good. So what?
Trying to make sure I have all four though.
Yeah.
shorts on both and videos on both is what I mean.
So what are your goals? So what's your goals this week? What's coming up?
Well, hopefully my car is going to be okay. And the reason why I bring that up is that I don't have much money right now, and I saved up money so I could go move down to Austin, or at the very least, like take a trip down there so I can see the neighborhoods and stuff like that. But that money's probably going to go to repairing my car. And so I need to figure out what to do for income. And so I might need to keep looking for jobs, or maybe I'll just take a break from looking at jobs and worrying about money and just focusing more on content. I need to start doing templates again for the PIOS. The problem is it's kind of a big endeavor, and I need to figure out where to start. And that would also in turn lead me to making more blog posts, which is what I need to do because they're very hand in hand. But what about you? You still need to tell your side of the new thing. Yeah.
I mean, so I was reflecting on what I want to do with the channel and what I want to do in general. I just saw Daniel Patel? I was looking at a blog post. Basically, I'm reflecting on how much is the channel making? What kind of content can I create? Then also to like what's working, what's not working. And so the one thing that is working is the channel's just really stable. Like it pretty much can have a base of a certain amount of subscribers. It's making a certain amount. I want to create a certain amount of master classes and things like that.
I'm excited for you for that. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. So I think it's less paying attention to what other people are doing and just tripling down on the content that I can create and the things that work for me. Because what I found is looking at other AI agent channels, like it's just too much to just feel, it just feels too overwhelming. But I do know that a lot of them are doing speculative or making these huge claims, but I know I can pretty much put out a step-by-step guide better than most. So I think it's picking 1 to 5 tools that a lot of people are talking about, making those first. Also looking at the product hunt feed, what's coming up next, and just doing small bets on doing tutorials on ones that just come out and that are like product of the day kind of things. So those are my main focus points. I will say I'm working with a psychologist that is, I didn't know this, I guess the American Association like Psychology, they're allowing private practice to use AI, use ChatGPT, because they're saying there's not enough therapists to help people. And so they're advocating right now, and it's billable hours that you can set up AI. Now that's so new, everything's going on. But I told him, I was like, I think this is a huge thing. I was like, I can train bots and agents and things like that. I think we should do going for speaking events, all of these things. And then we just sell them, just like go crazy. Because there's so many private practices, not like a cash grab. This is really, there are so many psychologists that need help that, and he came to me because he found me on Heartbeat because he saw me building communities. And I told him like 6 months ago, I'm like, you might be able to do this with chatbots based on your knowledge base and things like that. So all that in summary, I'm focused on money making projects, and then I can filter that money into the more of the content I want to produce or create on YouTube that is high quality or higher production. I think the higher quality for masterclasses I can get there. But yeah, that's why I have
That's it.
plan.
I like that. There's an interesting distinction though too. I think that we've talked about repurposing a lot, and I had my Omni content series that I did where I made like a video, a blog post, and even a slide deck and a podcast all in one go. And then I would take all of that, and the slide deck was kind of nice because it gave me pictures and stuff like that. And basically I could have a whole army of micro content from them. And I kept hearing from a lot of people who talk about repurposing about doing that with like webinars, masterclasses, big old white papers, anything kind of like huge, big content like that, disseminating it, like courses too. And so you have like your paid course, but then from that paid course, you make little baby versions of each video module. And it's like a YouTube video essentially. And you could also take the clips and then post it as clips online. And I feel like those two repurposing things are different. They're separate levels. And I think you should do both side by side, not in place of each other. And a lot of people in the repurposing world see them as like in replacement of each other. And I don't think that's a good idea. Like you do the Omni content once a week, or every day if you really want to be eccentric. And that way you can do the Gary V 100 pieces of content a day kind of mindset. But then you do the white paper stuff or the masterclass stuff that's repurposed every week or every month, probably actually is more likely. And then that gives you a lot more deeper content and more SEO and more thought leadership, but it's different.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think there's levels to it. And no, also too, I was going to say, and I think I'd be interested if you want to go through this next week. I think one of the biggest things, and I was talking to a few friends of mine, the 12 weeks scorecard has really been a game changer, because before I would reflect, I'm like, how do I feel? But no, there's clear metrics of like, no, what in my 5 benchmarks, 1 through 5, like how well did I match this? And going to capacity like 85%, that's really motivating and has changed my perspective on my week and what I do. So maybe we'll talk about it next time if you want to, or whatever.
Well, actually, that was an idea that I kind of thought about in my head at the beginning of our call, because my quarterly layer of the PIOS, I feel like is lacking. I talk about the quarters in the yearly layer so I can kind of plan out the quarters ahead, but it's more of a meta description summary of what the quarter is going to entail. I want the quarterly layer to actually be very more in depth, quite like the weekly layer where you're planning out ahead and like actively planning. Like weekly planning is about active planning. It's like SMART goals, whatever. And I think that the 12-week year is the perfect fit for that quarterly layer, but I don't know enough about it. Like I've been listening to the book still, and I haven't finished it yet. I did a whole bunch that first day, and then I haven't really listened to much of it since then. A little bit. It's only the audiobook I'm really listening to. But so I'll definitely appreciate your input on that. And then the other thing I was actually thinking about doing, we could maybe do either one next time or push the other one to the time after, but I need to make about 5K, and I want to do it as fast as possible. And I think that you have a great mind for that. And while I have a business entrepreneurial spirit, I've kind of been so much on the opposite end, Doc, where I'm like free content, that my skill has rusted a little bit on the making money part. And I know what I need to do when it comes to like some of the grand ideas, like make templates, make courses, make books. That's great. That's not going to help me in the short term per se. It'll help me be in the long term, be sustainable and diversified income. But I need to figure out like a goal or some kind of campaign I can do probably for the end of the first quarter, essentially, or at the very least the middle of it. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But I figured that might be a cool episode too to do one day.
Yeah, let's do it, man. Let's take a look at it for next week.
One of those two topics, and then we'll just do the other topic the week after or something.
Let's do it, man. Sounds great.
Right. Anything else before we wrap up, sir?
Nah, man. This was great. Can't wait.